Hey fellow gardeners, Dawn here from Seasonal Designs. Today's video is all about spring containers. Now if you live in an area like I do, Wisconsin, Zone 5, you also get sometimes cold evenings down into the low 30s and maybe days that don't even reach higher than 40 degrees. So we need to think about using hardy perennials, annuals, and bulbs for our spring containers. But it also allows us the opportunity to get creative with some of the things that we utilize. We are going to look at a number of different creative containers in this upcoming video. So if you're ready, let's get started. Well, I just planted up this container just a few days ago. I put my big orbs in here and I just love the way these turned out. They're going to fill in and get better and better over time. But what I used in this was a salvia called Bordeaux Deep Blue. This is a Teate daffodil. I also put in a pansy in purple, and I love the little yellow center, pulling in the yellow from my daffodil. And then, of course, I added this crane pink cabbage. Now, it looks really purple right now, but as it gets cold, it's really going to start to color up and look beautiful. The last thing I added in here, which isn't going to bloom for a little while, is this hyacinth bulb. It is pink, and that pink is going to pull from the pink that will be in my cabbage shortly. Now these are the same set of containers last year. I had a hellebore in the center surrounded with the cabbage, some hyacinth bulbs, and pansies. Now look how small and colorless the cabbage are. This is right after planting. And then as time goes on, they grow, they get bigger, they get more colorful with the cold temperatures, and you can sort of see how this container is transitioning from early planting through spring. In this picture, it's absolutely full. The cabbage are big. They're taking over my hellebores now, but still looking absolutely gorgeous. Now, I love using cabbage in both my spring and fall containers. I can find it in fall, but I can't find it in spring. It can even get hit with frost, and it still looks gorgeous. I found crane pink and crane red cabbage to be incredibly easy to grow from seed. I start them in January under grow lights in my house. This is them. And I also will start a second batch in August so that I have them in fall. Now, when they're done in my spring containers, I cut them off, I pop them in a vase of water, and I now have a cabbage bouquet. Next up is a client container I just planted up. I've started with the wild rose heuchera in front. On either side of that, the crane red cabbage. I've added rock foil, hot rose, and a red pansy to this container. What you see in the center is actually faux grass and dried yarrow. Of course, I've added my beautiful yellow dogwood branches, really making this container look beautiful right from the get-go. Now, sometimes you just can't find a lot of stuff for spring containers. There's absolutely nothing wrong with using a big pot of purple pansies with a little yellow in the center. I've added some forsythia branches. I added that curly willow branch. I've added some green pods, and this container still looks beautiful and says spring. Now this is another set, actually 3 containers for a client, and I've really packed these babies full. I have lamium in the front and center, the purple pansy, the rock foil hot rose, the crane red cabbage. I've added an English daisy to this, as well as the salvia Bordeaux Deep Blue. And in the center of the 2 large pots, I have a hellebore surrounded by a few willow branches. All of these are very hardy. Most of these are perennials and can be added to the landscape when your spring containers are done. Now this is a raised bed planter. I planted up for spring. It has a hellebore called Maid of Honor. It has pink potion veronica, candy tuft, lamium, daffodils, and pansies in shades of pink. Now most of this stuff again is perennials. I'll be able to pull these out and put these into my landscape once I am done with this. I should mention the raised bed is from Labona. Size-wise, it's about 47 by 18 by 28. It's waterproof, it's weather resistant, and it comes in 5 colors. Now, I chose the brown, which looks like wood, and I think it looks really good. It holds 2 cubic feet of potting mix and a whole lot of plants, as you can see, because I packed it full. I think I had 12 quart-sized pots in here and 8 4-inch pots in here. So I really packed it full, so it literally looked gorgeous right from the get-go. Now, if you are interested in this raised bed planter, it's called the Skylar Planter. I will put a link to it in the description of this video, but you can find it at shoplabona.com. And really, I could see using this in many different places, not just on my patio or on my front porch, but also I could see planting up seeds in here and putting it in my greenhouse. So I'm going to get a lot of use out of this. One of the easiest things you can do for spring containers is buy a bunch of bulbs, doesn't matter what variety, just make sure they all bloom around the same time. So tulips, daffodils, hyacinths, mascari, whatever you want, plant them into a pot, move those pots into your garage so they get a protected area if you live somewhere cold like I do. Let them get their cold period, move them back out in spring, and voila, beautiful spring containers. One of the things I like to do in containers is leave what I had in there in winter. So the logs and the willow branches were in there in winter. I've simply replaced everything else with some forsythia branches, my hellebores, my pansies, my lamium, and I've just created a gorgeous spring container. Now this is the same container previous year. This year I had painted lime green branches, which really said spring. Added the forsythia branches, and then nothing but this absolutely beautiful Johnny Jump viola. Love it. Another client container. This one has cherry blossom stems along with some of the lime green branches, and then I've simply put in a bunch of different colored violas. Super simple, super beautiful for spring. So this is a fun one. This one has the Ice and Roses hellebore. It has a heuchera, citronelle. It has sweet alyssum, and it has a white pansy, rounding out a beautiful spring container. All right, these next 2 containers have the same wonderful sort of spring plants with bulbs and pansies and lamium, but we've kept the winter logs and added some pussy willow to them. And that really changes your planter from winter to spring. But don't feel like you can't keep some of those things from winter in your spring containers. Now this one is quite beautiful and has sort of a layered look. So pussy willow in the back, followed by white daffodils with a little yellow center. And then you can see there are some yellow daffodils in there. And then a combination of purple pansies that are purple and white, as well as a pansy that is more white with purple, rounding out this beautiful spring container. Looking for a contrast in color, we have this lime green hellebore in the center, just surrounded with a big ring of orange pansies. This sort of classic combination of daffodils, I love the combinations of the white with the yellows and a little bit of the violet color in the pansies or violas. Makes a really pretty combination. And then I love a contrasting color with yellows and blues. I think if you just put those two colors in a container, add some branches, I think it's lovely and looks just like spring. This is just recently planted up with a beautiful hellebore in the center, the pansies, as well as some muscari in here. This container will just get fuller and more beautiful. If you can find a hellebore, use it in your spring containers. And then when you're going to change these out for summer, take that beautiful hellebore, pop it into your part shade or shade garden. It's like getting a 2-for-1. Now this pretty little container has a really pretty blue salvia I was able to find in the center, along with crocus and some pansies. Again, a really simple container filled with forsythia branches, willow branches, and then this early small iris bulb known as dwarf irises, also commonly called Iris reticulata. Just was absolutely beautiful in this spring container. Well, that is going to be it for today's video on spring containers. Now, obviously, the season is just getting underway. We have a lot more to come. We'll be taking a look at the garden in spring once all of my bulbs get up. We are going to be taking a look at summer container ideas as well this year. And then, of course, as the landscape progresses, we have different beds to plant up. So we have a lot of exciting things coming, and I hope you will join me for that. Don't miss a thing. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.